can you see this person's perspective,
Right.
but can you see beyond this barrier that is in front of you right now? And we do get to that place of gratitude and actually appreciation. Now, it takes us refusing to stay in a victim mindset in order to do that.
We're setting it up because it's Mental Health Awareness Month. I'm Devon O'Day.
I am Teri Pugh. Good to be here with you, Miss Devon.
It is going to be a day. It's going to be a day of talking about what is happening with everybody. And I love that Elizabeth's always right in there. Happy Wednesday, my friends. So glad it's launch day time again. And I am too. I'm glad it's launch day time. And we're going to kick things off talking about how to take steps to get unstuck and to be patient with ourselves when we decide to go on a recovery journey. Tell us, and everybody puts recovery and they'll go, well, I'm not addicted to any drugs or alcohol, so I'm not in recovery. I'm going to put that in your ballpark.
We are all in recovery for something.
Right? Yes.
And it doesn't have to be substance or addiction or alcohol or something of that nature. We as human beings are continually evolving. So we're constantly unearthing new things about ourselves if we so choose. We can also sort of stay in that same pot that we're in and never grow out of it. There's nothing wrong with that either. If that's what we choose, that's okay, but we can't complain about it.
Right.
So yes, we are all in some sort of recovery from something in life. And that doesn't mean full metal jacket type recovery where we've got to just go all in. We just have to be mindful and we have to continue moving forward.
I always say that recovery is not a fast food window. You go and we've gotten kind of schooled that you go to a window, you say, I would like to be free of this. And then you go to the next window, you pay your money. In the next window, you pick up a hamburger. And that's not the way that recovery is. And when they use phrases like one day at a time, well, we don't go, I want to take every breath of my life right now. No, It's every 60 seconds or 2 minutes. We're taking breaths. Our heart is beating. Everything is in a stage.
Exactly. And we have, to your point, we have cultivated a society, which is I term the phrase a Papa Pill society, meaning we want instant gratification for going to sleep, waking up, being happy, having clearer eyesight, having functioning erectile dysfunction, Papa Pills, bigger boobs, Papa Pills. I mean, we Papa Pill for everything.
Lipo in a box.
Yes.
I like that product a whole lot, by the way.
But, and if you like it, that's great. But there's a stereotypical thing around that surrounds that says that everything should be easy. Click on links and Google anything. We can WebMD ourselves to death. You can Google Earth and be at the Eiffel Tower in less than 30 seconds. We live in a culture of instant result. Maybe not instant gratification, but instant result. And as a result of, oftentimes have the misconception that our healing and our growth process should be just as instant. And sometimes it's not.
Well, Liz and Wayne have joined us, and Elizabeth states, pot gets uncomfortable enough, we'll look to find a way out eventually. The old crab pot. Now, here's the deal, is that we have to be used to, when we try to get out of that crab pot, The old adage is the other crabs will try to pull us back in. So sometimes people don't try to get out of a
Mhm.
bad situation because it's just so darn uncomfortable. The and I love, and this is one of my Teri tools. It's one of those phrases that I wrote on the mirror. Don't settle for the comfortable uncomfortable.
Mhm. Yeah. And you're right about that pot. We, again, going back to the people that we surround ourselves with, and sometimes
Mhm.
they're loving, well intended folks. But if we are growing outside of their comfort zone,
Mhm.
they're quick to lasso us by the ankles, by the mind, or by the heart and pull us back in. Sometimes with very inquisitive
Mhm.
question. Are you sure you want to do that? That seems awful risky. Wow, you're
Mhm.
more riskier than I am, and it's like, no, it's okay, really. I can move to a bigger pot. Yeah. Need to let my roots
Same.
spread some.
Yeah, and my favorite one of mine is, well, I think everybody deals with that. I don't really think you have a problem. I mean, if you have made the conscious decision and there's an issue and someone tries to talk you out of that issue, and you're trying to get your life better, you're trying to harness whatever you need, don't listen to those voices, because that is the big E, the enabler that is there to say, uh, no. And you have to, it doesn't mean you can't be friends with them. It just means you have to understand where they are in your process.
Absolutely. And you also have to understand that sometimes when we grow, other folks get uncomfortable
Mhm.
because as we're growing and we're healing and we're addressing the things that maybe we're not so crazy about ourselves with, and we're starting to redefine and recomb, tease those things out. Other people, the spotlight is now shined on them because they recognize, well, crap, my game up a little bit, and they may not want to. And you know what? That's okay. It just means that if you have an awareness of what you're doing to better your health, your happiness, your peace of mind, then not everyone has to sing to your same note. They get to either join the choir or not. It
Right.
Someone else's willingness or lack thereof to work on themselves should underscore never play into our ability to work on ourselves to reach our happiest and healthiest version.
Amen. There is the thing, and you can open the box labeled codependency, open the box that says enabler. It's really kind of all the big same box. It's the people who benefit from you staying sick. And whatever that
Mm-hmm.
sick is, whether you're a hoarder, whether you are trying to lose weight, it's that person who drops it in there and goes, well, I'm having a party. And don't you want to just come and just let things down for one night? They're the people
Right,
that, because if we get well, the person who is with us because we are sick has nothing left to hold us.
right.
Those sick relationships start becoming healthy. We start, and that is a scary place for people who have used our sickness to control us.
Hmm. Well, and you start finding when you get support groups or friends or new acquaintances or experiences, you start
Mhm.
to recognize that um, there is another way of being.
Mhm.
If it's I work with folks who have many, many different visions, and sometimes because of their immediate surroundings
Mhm.
they cut themselves short for stepping into that, even if it's in their own self care and their self healing.
Mhm.
Well, I can't take time to heal myself or to address these particular infected emotional wounds because I've got to help this family member do this, or I have got to help this family member do that. You can absolutely allocate time to help folks do things. And
Mhm.
if you can allocate time to help other folks, there's absolutely zero reason to work on your own states of being.
Elizabeth makes a great point. It's so important to trust your gut and stick with your plan and journey. I changed the dance I was dancing, and those around me had to change theirs or stop dancing with me. And
Hmm.
there are going to be people that fall away when you start getting better. Now, how are being patient with ourselves when it takes longer than we want to lose weight, to get healthy, to stop a substance, to change a habit that we don't necessarily, it's not tragic, it's not bad, or maybe there's a trauma in our life that we're trying to get over. It's how are we patient when it takes longer than we want it to take?
Well, I tell clients, when we're working with, to go back to referencing the littles, we've got all these life experiences, and we don't know that we're ready to shift until we know. So the mind automatically will go to that instant gratification. All right, I'm going to set that goal, I'm going to do this, and it's just going to work out fine.
Mm-hmm.
But we know in the world that we live in, hormones, moods, friends, all kinds of things fluctuate all the time. So creating a parameter around that patience that says, you know what, I've got some motivation, but I also understand that motivation is
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily always consistent. So some days we're going to feel like we've got the bull by the proverbial horns, and we're going to take it. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I got this going. Understanding that we've had lots of life experiences that we can be triggered along the way, and if we're triggered, then that momentum might slow down. And
Mm-hmm.
we hear it all the time. It's not a race. It's not a race. It's not about the end result, and it's really not. It's about learning that, being kind and patient with yourself, setting those boundaries for yourself, taking the time you need to rest, to choose healthy. Of course, if you're a person that's trying to lose weight and it's like, okay, do I want to grill salmon tonight, or, do I want to go by McDonald's? So the brain's going to scream, go to McDonald's. That's so much better. Those fries are yummy. But you have to say, okay, what's the step that's going to get me closest to my goal?
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean you can't get you some fries every once in a while. I don't think that there's any food out there that's a bad food for people. I think it's our attachment to it, you know.
Elizabeth says, order a pizza.
Exactly. Order a pizza and
Yes,
have yourself a slice
true.
of pizza, and
Uh-huh.
then hold yourself accountable, never stopping. We can always take a break from our
Mm-hmm.
process, but
Right.
not stopping, you know.
There are traumas in our lives that take a long time to get over. And some of the folks who are joining us right now have had really bad things happen. And a lot of times when we think about recovery, we think of the substance, but we don't think about the thing that sent us to the substance to begin with. You have to deal with what happened to you. Uh, and even worse and toughest is what happened because of you. You have to deal with those things because we talk a lot as if everyone who is with us might be the person who had something perpetrated on them. But there are a lot of people that might be listening who feel the guilt and the weight of being someone who caused someone to have heartbreak, or or maybe you did something to someone, or you caused something to happen that was a trauma in someone else's life. Now let's talk about that weight and how to lift that.
Accountability. I mean, if we're going to peel this onion or the apple all the way back to the core and to the
Mm-hmm.
seeds, the very seed of our ability to navigate through and continue moving forward into a vision of our healthiest version of ourself,
Right.
or is going to be where those seeds are planted,
Mm-hmm.
and what seeds are we planting in their place. If you go out to your garden and you've had a garden for, let's say, 10 years, right? So, and every year the corn looks a little wonky and it looks a little wonky and it looks a little wonky. Well, if we're talking in visions of that garden being a trauma in your life, and every year you're going out and you're reliving, you're reminded of it. At some point, we have to know that the corn isn't going to get up and walk away itself. We have to
Yeah.
take the initiative to pull it up, plow it up, start putting some healthy soil down, start reframing that entire thing. You're not going to go out there all in a weekend if you've got a 100-acre cornfield. I don't really know how much 100 acres is because I'm a city girl, but you're not going to go out there and like plow all this up in a day if it's not manageable.
Right.
You're going to do it a little at a time. Your healing process, whether we are forgiving ourselves or someone else, and many times that's a tag team combination because there might be someone to forgive about a trauma that has been inflicted upon us. But once that trauma is inflicted upon us and we have carried that forward for
Right.
5, 10, 15 years, and now we are um, in an unhealthy pattern in our life, that is not the perpetrator's issue. We have agreed to do this on some level, even if it's an unhealthy contract with ourselves.
An unhealthy contract with ourselves. I love that. That says it right there. And we sign up for things. And the other thing that really hurts and really smarts is when you're in a bad situation and maybe trauma has driven you to a really unhealthy relationship with someone else, because we have a tendency to repeat traumatic relationships. We'll go to someone else and someone else and someone else that brings the same feelings up within us because we're used to that feeling of angst. So but we'll try to fix the relationship that started at point person 1 by going to 2, 3, 4, and 5. And that repetitive action, you can't repair an old bad trauma relationship by going to a new bad trauma relationship. It just gets worse. Every time you repeat that, it gets worse. Now let's talk about moving out of that. Elizabeth has something that to add. My traumas definitely led me to cause trauma to others, big trauma. It was harder for me to deal with what I did to others than to deal with my own shit. Let's just say it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And that is the condiment on the sandwich of life right there, because it starts with it being harder to, we pick and choose, and we seldom ever pick us. So trauma causes, it's a cause and effect. And until, we pull ourselves out of that, and by a willingness to do that, and the patience with ourselves to know that we didn't get here overnight, we're not going to get out of it overnight. We do not get in situations, when I work with people who have had an unhealthy relationship to food, and so they'll say, well, here's the goal, X number of pounds by X, and I look at the math and I'm like, are we sure about this? Because we didn't get here overnight, but we want to get out of it quick, right? But there's just as many lessons and blessings in getting out of it, as there have been as there have been wounds and traumas in staying in it. So
absolutely.
So if we just jump to the end, we're missing half of that journey.
Yeah, that's, and sometimes that journey is not always easy, but Mark talks about it. My sister went from one bad marriage and then went to another. Well, that happens. I mean, I know people that have been married, 3, 4, 5 times each, and then they come together in this final one, and it works because they finally decided to go for the healthy, because good sometimes feels very uncomfortable to the person who's been carrying around a trauma suitcase.
Well, and here's the thing with the trauma suitcase. when you decide, okay, yes, I'm ready to start attracting healthier people into my life, and then that healthy person shows up, you've got to know that you've done your work on your end so that you are
Yeah.
not only willing to receive, but you're able to reflect back that same healthy. Understanding that
Mhm.
in relationships, there's always going to be wonky moments where there's disagreements and whatnots. But overall, you
Usually over a
know,
toilet seat.
yeah, absolutely. Or the way
Chris,
you put
stupid
toilet
stuff.
paper on,
Yeah, yeah,
is
yeah.
toilet paper over?
That's
It's
not what we're
not,
talking about. That's not what we're talking about.
no, not at all. You know, um,
Excuse me.
but if we say, I just want someone in my life, or I want the job, I want the person, I want the body, I want the healthy mindset that makes me feel XYZ. First off, nothing should make us anything. We should be inviting things into our lives because they enrich our lives. And we have to be willing to get to a place to know that just as much as others enrich our lives, we have the capacity to enrich others' lives. And
Right.
there's nothing wrong with saying, I enrich people's lives. Nothing,
Mm-mm.
nothing. But shame will say, girl, don't you get on that thing and start telling everybody you're all that in a box of crackers, because, that's being conceited. And it's like, no, no, it's not. If you're wanting to attract a change in your life, you have to be willing to be that change, because
Mhm.
otherwise, what's going to happen? You're going to attract that person, and they're going to be like, oh my gosh, you are just, we are great for one another. And if you don't feel like you are worthy, you will start sabotaging that, because
Ooh,
you will find the
yes.
things that will destroy it.
Let's unpack that right now, because that's one of those things that we're talking about, patience and whatever. Unpack the idea of sabotaging relationship, the people who pick a fight when things are good. That
Mhm.
happens to people. Yeah, we're getting a high five. It's like, yes, people will sabotage over and over and over. I've been guilty of that, whether it's with a job, whether it's with a living situation, whether it's with your finances, whether it's with a significant other. We blow it up.
Yeah. Well, the sabotaging part of it, um, this we walk around with that love-hate relationship, right? It's like, I don't sabotage stuff. I don't do that at all. But I know that there are people out there who have been in or are currently in relationships with someone, whether it's family, friend,
Mhm.
um, romantic relationship, where there's a special occasion coming up. Maybe it's a week out, right? Maybe someone's going to go for Songwriter of the Year, or maybe there's a job promotion, or maybe there's a family member having a baby, or maybe there's a girls' night out and you're being celebrated for something. Just want to have fun, right? The person that is sabotaging will start laying the tack strips down a week out. You know, they'll be quiet. They'll be distant. Are you sure you want to do that? I don't even know why you hang out with them. They're always looking for trouble. They'll even talk up the person that is going up for the award, or
Mhm. Right.
the whatever with you. Wow, I
Mhm.
heard that the other day and that was amazing. They'll start doing these things to start crumbling the confidence of that other person, right?
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
that by the time the event gets there, even if it's family reunion, you don't even want to go, because this other person has just burst this bubble for you, and now it's a conflict. So you just want to go
Right.
get over it, get it through, get it done. Then when you're home, everything is fine again, right?
Yeah.
Because they've destroyed that moment for you. And
You know, I had a phone call last week from someone reaching out to me over a relationship with someone else, a significant other in their life, not a romantic one, but a familial one.
Mhm.
And they said, I've been hurt by this person, so I'm going to write them a letter and tell them the way I feel and what their actions have made me feel. And I said, what do you want from that? What are you expecting to get from that? I said, well, I would like for them to acknowledge what they did and say they're sorry. But because I know my Teri tools, and I'm going, well, you ain't going to get what you're looking for. So don't write the letter. Now, if you want to write a letter and tell somebody how they have made you feel, but if you want to write a letter, a tell all of it, and you did this, and you did this, and you did this, and you expect them to go, oh my gosh, I am so sorry. Let me make this right with you. I'm just going to tell you right now, that ain't going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen, because if we try to do something to correct somebody else's mistakes, we don't control that. But we can say, this is how I made it feel, and I've gotten it off my chest.
Mm-hmm.
Here's why we have a distance in our relationship.
Absolutely.
This is why this has not worked for me. If that is your goal, then it's going to work beautifully. If your goal is to get an apology, go back to the drawing board.
Right. If you're laying out something because you need to in a healthy right, ain't happening. If you are laying something out for someone because the intent there is that there's a desire to share how you feel,
Mm-hmm.
great. But be mindful that you are going to want to come at that from a non-charged emotional place. If you're sitting down with that pen and paper and you're like, I'm going to tell them right now, that is probably not going to go real well, right? Probably not. But if it's for your highest and best, and sometimes that means you write the letter and you get it out of the headspace and into the actual word or the
Right.
world on paper and pen,
Mm-hmm.
and that decompresses so much of that pent up
Right.
frustration, you know. But any writing any attempt that we take towards someone else to get them to change is probably not going to happen because they have to want that themselves. Whether we're talking about someone who has a bonding with a substance, or whether we're talking about a spouse or a friend or a partner that we have unconsciously agreed to, I mean, how many people do you know that when folks will say, I'll meet you at 4, and you're like, okay, great. And you get there at 4, and then you get a text at 4:15 that says, I'm 20 minutes late. I'm going to be 20 minutes. I'm almost there. If you continually go, okay, that's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
Right.
Then you are agreeing to this. You're agreeing to this contract that you have with this person, a nonverbal contract
Mm-hmm.
of you can always be late and I'll be okay with it. But if you're going home and you're on social media going, I just had lunch with one of my friends. Okay,
Ain't okay with you.
no, it
You're
doesn't
not
sit
being
with you.
truthful. Right. And
Exactly.
you're not, practicing rigorous honesty in all our affairs is a tough thing to do. And sometimes it's just being honest about how something feels about you. And it's like, and I'll guarantee you, if you have let somebody slide when they're late and it really bothers you, um, if you tell that person, this is sticky for me. I have a time schedule, and it causes me issues when I'm late with you. I love you, really love you, and I want to spend time with you, but it's caused me to be late. So instead of 30 minutes with you, I have 10. And I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
That's okay. And you know what?
Absolutely.
And I will put dollars to donuts. If this is a healthy relationship, this person will go, oh my gosh, I want to respect your time. I am sorry. You might
Mhm.
be surprised at the response. I think this is important. EB says, it took me a month and 4 sessions with my shrink to write a letter to some of my family members. Had to keep it focused on my feelings, thoughts, rather than writing it to get an apology.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm. Well, because that letter process, that healing process, that conversation process, when you are regulated, meaning that when your emotions are in check,
Right.
You are able to, with self-patience and with self-kindness, you're able to articulate what you how the actions of someone else are showing up and how you're responding to them.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm. Mark says, I see a lot that say one thing and are okay, but then say something totally different and upset about it. I'm trying to understand what you mean by that, Mark.
mhm.
I guess that some people are good with kind of letting things slide, but some people, if it really bothers you, it really bothers you. So that's your rigorous honesty, and you have to do that.
It is, and here's the thing: if someone showing up, and we'll use the late thing. If someone's showing up and they're late consistently, or they don't show up at all, like whatever, they cancel at the last minute or whatever, and that bothers you, bringing that to their attention, yes, absolutely
Hmm.
a healthy alternative to do.
Hmm.
But first and foremost, looking within with yourself. What is it that that person, what are you feeling when this other when and it's not just this person just happens to be that perpetual straw, right? So what is it that the person feels when people show up late or
Hmm.
cancel at the last minute? Most times people are going to say, I don't feel respected. I don't
Yeah.
feel like I really matter to them.
Yeah.
And so having a healthy conversation about that. Not, you make
Right.
me so mad when you don't show up. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, you're pissed off about it, but there's something beneath that.
True.
And that is not the friend or the family member's job to get to. That is the person who has the issue with the other person being late.
Yeah. One of the things that I think it's important as to always remember is one, we are always a work in progress. It takes what it takes. It takes as long as it takes, and it takes the effort that it requires. And it is all right to take the rest of your life moving off this space. It's okay. That is, everybody's got a different journey. So be patient with yourself as you do that, and give
Absolutely.
yourself the time. It is not a fast food thing in recovery. Like you said, everybody's recovering from something.
Hmm. Absolutely. And I would say this as well, Devin. I know we're getting ready to wrap, but when we have that moment of, God, this just takes so long. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't da 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 da. If you have tried
Hmm.
to move out of a situation, a mindset, a headspace multiple times and it's not working, then again, you need to reassess what it is that you're getting out of that,
Right.
and what are the blocks and the hiccups that are causing you to stay, and how can you start to micromanage it. You go in, how do I get rid of this now, and then I can move forward in the other. But self-love,
Absolutely.
kindness and patience are going to be your biggest ally, and if you can't do it alone, find someone who can support you, and hold that space for you.
Finding the right help is also important. There's so many. There's going to be, everybody in the world is going to tell you, well, you need to go to a treatment center, or you need to go to um, uh, an anonymous organization. You need to do 12 step. You need to go to church. You need to do this. You have to find the journey and the help that works for you. For me, it was an amazing life coach through Transcending Turbulence, and that's what helped me. And that's the reason that we do this show, because there are a gazillion different coaches out there who do
Absolutely.
different things. So you find, you do, you boo.
That's right. Look at it like you're shopping for shoes, or you're shopping for a purse, or you're shopping for a wallet, or new reader glasses, because Lord knows I got about 100 of these around my house. You know, you're going to look and you're going to see what looks good, what feels good to you, what resonates with you, and then
Hmm.
give it a shot. And if it doesn't work, or it doesn't resonate with you, guess what? You get to not go back there. You get to try something else. But there come a point, if you've gone through 50 coaches, 20 therapists, all, and you have no friends to call on anymore, it is not, it is not who you're looking at, it's who's looking that's the issue. And you got to be willing to stick, you've got to be willing to land it, stick it, and say, you know, stuff right now,
Truth. And
and work through this.
I love it. Does take time. It's time well spent and oh so worth it. I'm working on figuring out my own roadblocks these days. It will be worth it in the end. Well, beautiful way to end our show, EB. Thank you guys all for being part of it. Share this on your pages. Tag somebody who you think might resonate with Launch Date. We are here every Wednesday on YouTube and Facebook at noon Central Time on Wednesdays. But if you saw it in the replay, give us a hashtag replay so we know that you're there. Every time you interact with us on whatever page you are, just click like and follow us along so you don't miss. And if you're on YouTube, click the bell so you are alerted every time we show up, and follow us on Instagram.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if there's a topic you want to know about, let us know and we will unpack that one.
Absolutely. Well, everybody have a beautiful, blessed day. And we always end with Teri.
Increase the peace.